Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
It's getting really serious, quite bad, because I don't know what day it is. I thought it's been Monday for 3 days now. It's getting really bad,
I don't
to be
know, maybe
honest.
we should have like a calendar in the studio.
Perhaps.
Something like that.
I would think that that's such a great idea, that we'd keep some sort of calendar, or I get some sort of, some memo from you maybe, or some
I could
memo
put like
from
a
somebody.
sticky note on the desk or something.
Yeah, that actually would be a great idea as well.
Or like I'll send you a message on WhatsApp. It's like, Aisha, it's Tuesday.
Because, so I sent the running order this morning, right? Like of what we're going to be talking about on the show. And I kid you not, I was about to write January 16th.
How?
I don't know.
We're in November.
You
skipped an entire...
I skipped 2 months. A month and a half. Here's the thing. You know how everybody's been behind a couple of months, and I've been saying this for a while, that in my head, you know how maybe a couple of months ago we were still in March, right?
Yeah.
And we were slowly, as we pass by and we go through the year, I'm still a couple of months behind, just like everybody else. And for the longest time ever, I've been writing accidentally August or July, which makes sense. It's only 3 months away, but I feel like today was the day where my brain was like, Aisha, we skipped November, we skipped December, we jumped straight into mid-January because we're tired of 2020, and perhaps 2021 could be our year. Who knows?
We gotta really try to recalibrate your body clock because you're really off the charts.
Well, yeah, I'm doing 2 shows and I'm going to the gym and I'm doing some more work later on after the show. But honestly, even though I'd say like my body clock is a bit off and it's not correct, I'm still having a lot of fun. I look forward to the afternoon Karak every single day. I'm not even exaggerating because there's a lot of fun talking right here. We've got a lot of things to discuss, including some rumors about Black Panther. We spoke about another rumor yesterday in terms of Chadwick Boseman maybe appearing in digital form, but now we're going to be talking about potential villains, and they might be some really big Marvel names, and I would love to see at least one of them. I want him to definitely be there.
Oh, yeah. And earlier this week, we were talking about the untitled female-led Star Wars series. We got a little bit of more details about it from the showrunner herself, as well as some interesting reports about the PlayStation 5, its personal size, and some of the price points that Sony was deciding for the next generation games.
Yes, so many things to talk about today, so make sure you're tuning in to the afternoon Karak from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Your guide to entertainment and lots of fun only here on Pulse 95. We're going to kick it off. We're going to be a little bit groovy today. We're going to go to the world of disco and Kylie Minogue with Real Groove.
Pulse 95.
When we think of Cedric Diggory or when we think of Edward Cullen, we see Robert Pattinson. But imagine, had Robert Pattinson not taken these roles, they would have gone to Henry Cavill.
That's honestly a weird what-if scenario, because I have to imagine for a moment that Henry Cavill playing as the protagonist of Twilight, that very, dramatic, how do I call it, melodrama, teen romance kind of scenario.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. It'd be really weird.
Well, let me show you a picture of Henry Cavill back in 2010.
Oh my God.
So
okay.
it could have worked, couldn't it have worked?
MashaAllah.
He basically became, buffer and bigger for his later roles, such as Superman and whatnot. Otherwise, his
rise to stardom, yeah.
Yeah, his rise to stardom was from the Tudors, and I don't think it would have required him to be, buffer or bigger. It's just that his latest roles just required him to be that, so he just became that, I'd say, shape, or that that's how he looks like, and that's how now we associate Henry Cavill with. So before that, however, before his rise to stardom, he actually kind of looked like Robert Pattinson. So it might have worked out back then.
Weirdly enough, from the article, Stephanie Meyer, who is the author of the Twilight series, she went on record stating that Cavill would have been her dream choice for the role, except that he looked too old to play as a teenager, like a 17-year-old immortal vampire. So
I understand. That makes sense. He does look much older, even though he's obviously not that old. Even back then, he could have passed as a teenager had he just looked a little bit younger. Because you know how they usually cast actors and actresses who are much older in roles that are much younger than them.
Yeah.
Even though lately, thank God, they've been shifting towards actually casting teenagers in teenager roles. The only issue with casting teenagers...
Early
2000s, where there'd be 35-year-olds playing 17-year-olds. But the thing was, the only issue was that usually what happens is that these teenagers would be growing way too fast. So by the time the movie ends and they're trying to make a sequel or a third movie, they've already outgrew the role physically, maybe even mentally too, so they do not work out. So I understand why Hollywood would cast somebody who is actually older but looks younger.
It's always nice to think of what if, and this is a really interesting scenario, but what's interesting about this is the commonality of it. Robert Pattinson and Henry Cavill are both in the DCU movies. So, you know, we still got that going for us.
We still got that going for us. Like Kiseki said, I am very much okay with having him as our Superman or our Geralt of Rivia. I mean, yeah, we kind of missed out on him, as he would have been a cool Edward Cullen.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have kicked off a whole different situation, whole different talk. Maybe more people would be Team Edward than they are right now. I'm not saying Robert Pattinson is not a good Edward. He's a cool Edward. And it did kick off his career as well. So that's why it came all full circle, didn't it? That's what kicked off his career. It's what kicked off his career. And like you said, they are both in the DC world.
You know, so we still got it good.
We still got it good.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation for all of us right here on the Afternoon Karak. We can agree on that. Coming up next, our next story is about the PS5 and how the designer says that they wanted it to be much bigger, and also how Sony reportedly wanted to sell games for more than $70.
Wow.
So stay tuned for that.
Pulse 95.
Now, I know all of you for the past couple of days have been going on YouTube, Instagram, you're going through forums, you're looking up all the reviews for the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X. You're trying to make up your mind which console is better, the size, the price, the exclusive games that are coming out at launch. And a little interesting report that just came out recently from Kotaku that actually talks about how the PlayStation 5 would have been actually bigger than what you are initially seeing right now. Because, interestingly enough, if you go on YouTube and you're seeing all the pictures and the videos, PS5 is already huge. It's humongous.
Massive.
So I'm sure you're considering, like, where are you going to put this in your living room?
Especially since a lot of people might not want to migrate to the PS5 yet. There's so many games to play on the PS4. I know there's a lot of backward compatibility with the PS4, but again, since there's not many games at launch, you might be just waiting for the games to come in, steady stream of new games before you fully migrate to your PS5. So you're not going to move your PS4 away from its original setup. So you need to make place for both of them next to each other.
Especially now that ventilation is a very important factor for these next-gen consoles, because you don't want to suffer through overheating issues with the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. So you got to really put some space, allocate some space for these consoles. The Sony senior art director, Eugene Morisawa, he says, in the beginning, when I started drawing, it was much larger than, even though I didn't know what the engineering was going to do with it. And eventually, funny enough, the engineering actually told him that it was too big and he had to shrink it down a bit from its first drawing. And now I'm really curious, what does the first design look like?
I mean, already I've seen pictures of people, the various gaming journalists who got their hands on the console like back a couple of weeks ago. They were comparing it to their cats, and their cats were not tiny.
Oh yeah,
they were big cats. They were like this big as already. So the console was about the cat's size or a bit bigger than that. So just imagine how massive it could have been. And I'm so glad the engineers stepped up and said, calm down there, this is way too big. And I'm also glad that they actually went and stuck to the $70 mark, because there was a lot of outrage that all of the games, upcoming games with the PS5 are going to be marked at $70, even though the normal thing or the norm had been $60 for the past generation. So imagine if it was even more than that. And this was an anonymous report to Bloomberg. Even the people or the retailers or developers who said it do not want to mention their names. They're like, keep us anonymous.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody to know who we are. And apparently there's no explanation as to why they wanted to raise it, or explanation to why they kept it at 70.
Yeah.
But obviously you can kind of deduce that, again, you saw the outrage over an extra $10. Imagine if it was $15 or $20. People would be incredibly angry. And I believe maybe it's because of the pandemic and them trying to break even as soon as possible, especially with them. There are many reports saying that they might not have enough PS5s at launch, like within the first quarter of 2021.
Yeah.
Maybe after that, they're going to have a better stream of consoles. So they might want to, make money or profit in other ways through their games.
The statement that Sony uses now is that prices may vary. So it's still left in a very vague statement that lets you know that some games are going to be $50, some are going to be $60, and some are going to be $70. And I think it has to do with the fact that games are becoming more expensive to produce, and they're becoming more ambitious, and to somewhat fight against inflation. You know that now some next generation games, at least the AAA title ones, are going to be $70 right from the get-go.
Miles Morales, the Spider-Man, the Spider-Man edition, the one that's going to be coming out for the PS5, is actually marked at $50. However, the remastered version that includes the whole game, the deluxe edition, is going to be at $60. So just like you said, it might vary as well. But then Spider-Man Miles Morales kind of feels like a continuation. It's not exactly, it is a full game. We're not saying it's
big enough, but not as big as the original Marvel Spider-Man.
Sort of like, I would say, an expansion pack and a half, more or less.
Yeah.
So we understand that, but thank God it did not go any higher than that. Then people would have been really, really upset. We're going to be taking a short break, and coming up next is Black Panther rumors, so stay tuned for that.
Speculation, gossip, or hoax. Rumor has it.
Before we start talking about this rumor, I just want to give a quick shout out to my best friend Nasreen, who's all the way in Saudi Arabia, because ironically enough, or weirdly enough, coincidentally enough, her son Walid has been obsessed with Black Panther lately, has been going around just screaming Wakanda for life.
Aww. That's adorable.
That is incredibly adorable. And just before the break, we saw she sent us a small snap video of him screaming Wakanda for life and holding his little Black Panther toy. And that just shows you the impact or the importance of Black Panther to a lot of kids.
Yeah, and I'm sure the pressure from the showrunners and just Marvel Studios as to how they're going to be taking the sequel in terms of its story direction and characters, and even, rumor has it, villains.
Yes. Now, this villain we've kind of mentioned before, and I am super excited if they are actually going to be appearing. I'm going to completely lose that. One of them happens to be Namor. Like Namor, we've already mentioned.
He's like the counterpart of Aquaman from DC.
Yes, because the thing is, in the end of Endgame, they kind of confirmed that Okoye was referring to underwater tremors under or near Wakanda, and it was a direct kind of hint towards Atlantis and the Submariner. So does that mean, are they going to actually include Namor into the franchise? And will the Submariner also be part of it? We don't know. Now, another person or a villain that we've been hearing here and there that might be part of it is Dr. Doom, who is also a super cool character, and I would love to see him as well.
I haven't heard that name in a very long time. Dr. Doom is the iconic villain from the Fantastic Four movies, and for him to actually appear in Black Panther 2 implies that Fantastic Four might be added to the roster for the MCU timeline. We might see them in an Avengers film, because we have heard no rumors of a Fantastic Four adaptation of any kind so far. So for him to be coming into a Black Panther sequel, and again, we won't be getting any updates or a release date until I think 2022, and even then it might just get delayed. So a year later, maybe 2023 3.
Yeah.
And maybe that's enough time for Marvel Studios to establish a Fantastic Four team.
Maybe.
And then bring Victor Doom.
But here's the thing, according to this rumor, Dr. Doom will obviously have a role, but apparently Namor is going to have the bigger role in terms of being the villain. However, he will clash with Dr. Doom. So what could happen is that Namor could be the villain in that movie. And then something happens where Dr. Doom appears, and sort of similar to when Black Panther appeared in Civil War. He appeared sort of like another extra element person fighting them.
Yeah.
Even though he had he did have a stake in the fight with his father dying. He's trying to avenge him. However, like, he was still like a third party person. And then eventually when they all unite towards one enemy, eventually at the end of the movie. So I think this might happen as well, where Namor might be the villain, and then when Dr. Doom appears, he would clash with Namor, and maybe that would also kick off a whole Namor movie up in the future. And for that, I hope that Namor can be played by Zachary Quinto, because in my head, if Benedict Cumberbatch was not Doctor Strange, he would have been a perfect Namor.
Oh, we have to wait and see. These are really interesting developments. The fact that
Absolutely.
even Dr. Doom is mentioned just lets us kind of hint to a Fantastic Four. So we're obviously going to be keeping an eye on that. When any rumors, no matter how small, we'll be sure to update you guys here on the Afternoon Karak. We're going to be taking a bit of a break, but we're going to be continuing our updated report on the untitled female-led Star Wars series. So stay tuned.
This is Pulse 95.
Lucasfilms has been really just going full gear, expanding the world of Star Wars with some hidden projects that are going to be releasing in the near future on Disney Plus. Some of the untitled series, for example, the Ian McGregor led Obi-Wan Kenobi series, as well as the Diego Luna led Cassian Andor series.
Yes.
And but we're focused.
There's also the Boba Fett series that is also being worked on very soon.
But we're focusing on the untitled female-led Star Wars series that is actually being showrun by Leslie Headland. We talked about it earlier this week, just some mentioning of elements of martial arts being used. But she went on to another interview talking a little bit more about what we could expect as fans of Star Wars.
Because earlier this week we were talking about how it was kind of hinted that it's going to be involving some martial arts, and that it will be part of the Star Wars universe, but not the same
alternate timeline.
Exactly. Now it's been confirmed that it is part of an alternative timeline. And she says, I would say it's in a pocket of the universe and a pocket of the timeline that we do not know much about. I kind of see if Star Wars is a religion, I like to think of my show as a tent revival. You can come over if you want to. We're going to be talking about some cool stuff. What does that mean?
Still very vague.
Very vague.
But I think she's shooting for a story that's a bit niche, because Star Wars always comes off as big scale. You got the Empire, you got the Rebellion, you got all these interplanetary battles that take place, but she makes it sound like it's in a pocket of a universe somewhere. Like it's a very self-contained story.
But here's the question, though: is it similar to what I said, that where she's focusing, just like she said, on a small part of the universe, a whole different story, a whole different group that might not be directly affected by any of the main things that are happening in the main timeline of Star Wars?
Nothing that would retcon the canon.
Or does it do that exactly, where it completely retcons the canon and it's a whole different Star Wars story? Because she says alternate timeline. That alternate timeline just scares me, and I'm pretty sure it scares a lot of Star Wars fans. If she says, and it actually goes with the idea of an alternative timeline completely, she's gonna instantly isolate and push away lots of Star Wars fans. She might get some newcomers into the series, but a lot of them would have a lot of question marks, because I don't think anybody would be interested that much into something that is so far off the canon completely. Now, I know it has happened in many series, in many movies, whatever you can say. It happens in comics all the time, but I think that in this case, in Star Wars, people will not like too much.
I know it just sounds already just creatively risky, but sometimes you got to take a franchise like this and take some risks. It's a big enough world.
But not that kind of risk.
let's see where it goes.
Well,
You
yeah,
know?
because she does say that there is nothing discussed yet in the canon yet, so everything is still up for grabs. Everything is still up there. It could happen. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
So we, again, like we keep on saying throughout the entire hour, we need to just wait and see. And of course, we're going to report on it and talk about it and discuss it anytime we get any sort of information. So, Star Wars fans, calm down. It's okay. We got you right here. We got you right here on the afternoon, Karak.
Just be emotionally ready.
Yes, be emotionally ready. I'm not even the biggest Star Wars fan, and I'm already angry on your behalf. So it's okay. I will take on the burden of it all. We also do have Star Wars stories, but we're going to be saving that one for tomorrow. So if you want to know and tune into all the Star Wars fan, you know where you should be tuning into. The afternoon Karak from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. We continue our conversation. Coming up next is a horror movie from Jordan Peele, but it's not going to be coming out anytime soon. Let's discuss that, so stay tuned.
Pulse 95.
All the way a couple of years ago, when Jordan Peele announced that he is going to be making his own production company and that he is going to be writing a horror movie, a lot of us were like, the same Jordan Peele who is from Key and Peele? Are you sure the one is doing comedy sketches? Are you sure you're talking about the same guy?
Stick to the comedy.
Stick to the comedy. But now his name became synonymous with psychological thrillers and psychological horror movies. So when they announced that he's gonna be creating 2 more movies for Universal, everybody was super excited. But now we know that this next movie is gonna be slated for July 2022, but we don't know what it's gonna be about.
Whatever it is, I trust that Jordan Peele has what it takes.
Oh, definitely.
He brings a different, just a different palette to the horror genre. Something that actually comes off as more than just trying to scare you or creep you out and make you uncomfortable. You come out of it actually asking questions because it deals with real life issues, but it puts it in a more horror scenario. It's artistic, it's clever, it's well written.
Yes.
Get Out is still one of my favorite horror movies. I always look back and I always look at study analysis videos on YouTube, like how to establish something that's horrifying, but at the same time, it's not really. It's supposed to be subtle,
Yeah.
So Jordan Peele got what it takes, and if I have to wait until 2022 for him to come out with this film, I'm definitely going to keep check with all the updates. We know that he is involved in the upcoming Candyman reboot that's coming. It got delayed, unfortunately, until August 2021.
He's a producer, not director, because everybody's like, oh, he's a director, but no, he's not.
Still
he's
being creatively involved in other future horror movies. It still gets you kind of excited.
Oh, definitely. So I'm super excited for this one. I know everybody is. Get Out had a $5 million budget, and it came out with $176 million at just only the North American box office. Meanwhile, Us took in $255 million globally. So, I expect big things from Jordan Peele, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do. Coming up next is one of my jams from the past couple of years. And also, we do have one more segment to go. We have a super cool suggestion from Mikhail, so stay tuned for that.
It's almost 5 p.m.
That was Afternoon Karak. For dessert,
Aisha and Mikhail suggest...
For dessert, we have Mikhail and a super helpful suggestion as usual.
I'm going to keep it simple, but I feel like people actually dismiss this. I know junk mail, spam mail is something that you would never venture into. It's always going to be the spammy advertisements
Yes.
or, unfavorable kind of emails or the Nigerian prince telling you, hey man, I need you to, I need your bank account to ship
Mikhail,
you
that is
50 million.
That is so 2005. Now it's all about your Netflix passwords. It's always Netflix passwords.
Or it's like, oh, your Amazon has been
always.
closed. Please click this and put your account information, please.
And put in your credit card information and your date and everything. And we would like to help you with this. It's always like that.
I know there's a stigma behind the junk mail, but my suggestion is that every once in a while, if you're checking your main inbox, go into the spam mail or the junk mail and see if there's any important emails that were sent to you. Because sometimes, just because of the algorithm of your email account, some things get tagged as a spam, and then they go into there and you don't know where it is. Let's say, for example, this past couple of months I've been dealing with immigration, submitting online requests on government websites, and I've been waiting for updates, and I wouldn't see in my main inbox, right? So I'd go to my spam and it's there, and I'm like, oh my God, imagine if I didn't go there and check it, because your spam deletes any email in that folder after 30 days. So just a simple suggestion, go into your junk mail. You'd be surprised, sometimes there's a personal and important email that you just missed out on.
You want to laugh?
What?
My email
oh dear.
puts actual spam mail as normal mail.
How's that possible?
And the actual mail that I want to receive in my junk mail.
What?
I'm not even kidding.
You gotta call customer service on that.
I'm not even joking. I'm serious. If you go through my junk emails, all these actual things I've subscribed to, yes, they're various websites and, shopping places, but they're actual things I'm interested in. And they're all in my junk mail. Meanwhile, the whole, your Netflix password has been changed.
You get like a notification.
I get notifications every single day that goes like, your Netflix password, alert, your Amazon, alert, and
Customer support
be like, Microsoft, what are you doing?
Fix the email, please.
What are you doing with this? What are you doing with me? And what you should be doing is tuning in to Yalla Home, coming up next with Big Hass and Anna Schofield, where all the fun continues, and the smiles and all of that, and the laughs, of course, an extension of what we like to call them, an extension of afternoon karak, don't we? So humbly, yes, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. only here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.